So we said 10 minutes, and it's been a little bit more than 10 minutes. And if you can see what I did, I mean, all I did on my picture was erase, and I just kind of erased the lines on this side, and I started coloring this guy. And this is all I was able to get done. So I'll tell you a little bit that next week, we're gonna start doing these warm-up drawings, which is gonna be something like this, but they're not gonna be done over one class period. They're gonna be done over a span of anywhere from 3 to 5 class periods, depending on how difficult the picture is. Because if you look at this, I mean, in reality, if this is all I got done in 10 minutes, and I still gotta do the whole layer of orange on this guy, and I still gotta color the whole background, it's gonna take quite a bit if you do this correctly. So for that reason, today I just kind of want to go over how to use colored pencils, what they should look like, what you should not do, and that way you can use that information for these warm-up drawings that we will do at the beginning of class. And like I said, usually they take about anywhere from 3 to 5 class periods. So let's, if you talk about the first 15 to 20 minutes of class for 4 days, let's just call it 15 minutes. That'd be 1 hour of you working on a picture. Or if it's a little bit more complicated, it might be 5 or 6 class days that we work on it at the beginning of class. So for that reason, I want to show you this information. That way you're doing it correctly, because I mean, if I'm giving you the time and you're not doing it how I'm showing you, then you're not going to get any better. So I'm going to give you these tips. And today we're talking about colored pencils. So I'm gonna write on my paper, and you're just gonna kind of follow along and listen. And then in a minute, I'm gonna give you, it's a very simple picture today that we're just gonna draw a character, and then that way you can practice with your colored pencils. So, in case you don't know what a colored pencil is, it's a colored rod inside a wood casing. Now, colored pencils use wax as one of their binders. And the binder is that's what holds the color together. Otherwise, it would just be like colored powder and it would be falling apart. So one of the things that holds this together is wax. Now, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes colored pencils, they'll break. And I'm not talking about like literally they're gonna break in half, but I'm talking about if they get dropped too many times, if they drop from your table and they hit the floor just right, boom. What happens is this colored rod will break into little sections inside of the wood casing. You can't see it, but it's already broken inside. And then when you go to sharpen it, like the point keeps falling out and you're like, what the heck's wrong with this pencil? So, and then you color and then the point breaks off, you go sharpen it, it breaks off. And by the time you know it, you're down to like a very small colored pencil that's not usable anymore. And what happened to that pencil is that it was dropped or something happened to where it fell to where the colored rod broke inside of the wooden case. So now you just have like little bitty pieces all going across that broke that colored rod. So for that reason, you know, whenever you do have colored pencils, you just got to try to take care of them, not drop them, because they will break and cause that effect. Now, for the most part, you know, the most popular like school grade colored pencils are these Crayola ones. You can find these all over the place. You know, when school starts, they're usually, man, I can't remember the last time I bought some, but they were like $1.50. Now, once the beginning of the school is over, then they raise the price up, right? But if you buy these things at the beginning when school supplies are being sold, you can find them way cheaper. Now, if a whole set of 12, we're just gonna say $2, because like I said, I haven't bought Crayola color pencils in a small pack in a long time. I usually buy the big class pack. But let's say it's $2 for this set of colored pencils. You know, if you divide that, it's gonna be a couple of cents per pencil. Now I can tell you that in this class, and especially if you go on to the advanced drawing classes, they draw a lot with Prismacolor pencils. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Prismacolors, but it's a brand of art supplies. And their colored pencils, they run about $1 each. So, you know, if you ever come, if we do come back to school and you come to class, I do have some Prismacolors, and you can check those out, and you will like really be able to tell the difference between a Crayola and a Prismacolor, because the Prismacolor is like really soft. It's like butter, and it colors so nice. But these, they work just great too, man. For the most part, this is what I use because I like to use what you guys are using. So I usually just use these Crayolas. Unless I'm working on a picture that I'm gonna sell or someone commissioned or anything like that, I'll switch over to Prismas. But, so that's the first thing with these color pencils. Just be careful with them because they do break if you drop them too much. The next thing is, so for the most part, you know, people grab color pencils, and I'm gonna kind of over exaggerate this, but when you're coloring, you know, a lot of people like to do like big strokes, and they're not paying attention to the space that they leave in between. Let me check this chat room. Okay, nice. I'm seeing some people are putting what they have at home, but whatever you have at home, that's what you're gonna use. Some people, they color like this. Some people, they'll grab their color pencil and then they like to color like super dark at one time. I'm trying to, you know, and they think this is a correct way to use them because like, ooh, this color is nice and vibrant, you know, it looks really nice. Well, let me tell you, this is not the right way to use them, and let me tell you the reason why. So we said that your colored pencils have wax as a binder, and if you color this way, after a while it's going to make, because you forced that pigment onto the paper so hard, after a while, and it usually takes, I mean, it could take anywhere from a couple of days to a couple of weeks. What'll happen is the wax from the color pencil is gonna rise to the surface, and it's gonna give you like this crusty, whitish look to your coloring. And that is called wax bloom. And like I said, a lot of us, as we're beginning, we like to color this way because we think it's fast, we think it's easy, we think it looks nice. And it might look nice for a little bit, but after a while, that wax rises to the surface and it'll make this color look crusty. And I'm gonna leave that like this, and maybe next week I'll show you this little piece and you'll be able to see that. So, how are you supposed to color correctly? So, in order to color correctly, first, you just wanna color using fingers and wrist, not moving your entire hand back and forth. You know, not big sections. So, using hand and wrist. And then you want to kind of follow a pattern. So you have a square like this that you're coloring. You want to kind of follow a pattern. Just go over, back and forth in small sections. Small sections in a pattern. And then the last thing is you want to work in layers. And the reason you want to work in layers is because you can, instead of pressing one time like super hard on your pencil and then having that wax bloom like really mess up your work, if you go in layers and a little bit at a time build up that color, then it won't wax bloom, and it'll give you a much even softer feel to your color pencils. So when we're talking about how to do this, I'm just gonna use a little section here. So I'm gonna color in layers, and my first layer is gonna be going in the vertical direction. So I'll just start right here. And for this, I call it medium pressure. I don't know how else to call it, but not too soft, not too dark. Another thing that I like to do as a pointer is sometimes as you're coloring, the point gets flat, and I'll just like rotate it a little bit to get a sharper point. And I'm gonna do this a couple times. And then usually I'm left-handed, so I always work. I don't know if I want to call this working backwards, but I don't like to go that way too much because it gets all over my hand. And if there's any left-handed people in class, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You righties don't have a clue what we're talking about. I always tell my family, being a left-handed person, it's a little tough. Because everything's made, well, most things are made for right-handed people. All right, so that's my first layer. If you look at this layer, you can see where there's like a little bit of overlap there. So it's not perfectly even. So guess how you can fix that? Every time you add a layer, it's going to combine those and it's gonna make those a little bit more even. Now, I don't know if y'all can see on your screen, but this is not full coverage. There's like spots of white, right? And this is just a regular old piece of computer paper. Now, whenever we do like better quality drawings, especially here at school, I provide this paper that's a better quality drawing paper. And these speckles and these spots of white will be a little bit bigger. And let me tell you why. So this piece of paper, those white specks, is because your paper has tooth. It has tooth. So if you were to look at this piece of paper under a microscope, it's not gonna be like perfectly flat. It's gonna have like bumps and ridges. So let's say under a microscope, your paper kind of looks like this, you know, not perfectly flat. So when you color in one direction, you know, you're coloring this way. But what happens is you're kind of missing some of these pockets. And that's what causes those white specks. So guess how you can fill those in? By going the opposite direction. So when you go the opposite direction, then you will fill those pockets that you left white. And by the time you know it, your paper is gonna be completely covered. So that's why a lot of times you have these specks. So for my second layer, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So let me turn my paper. And I'm gonna start here. And for this, I am using the same pressure. I'm not changing anything about the amount of pressure I'm putting. It's the same thing I did with the first one, I'm doing on the second one. And like I said, for those of you guys that do not color like this, I mean, really try it out and you should be able to see a big difference. Now this does take more time. I'm not gonna say it doesn't take, this takes a little bit of time. For those of us that are used to coloring fast and just not doing this, you're gonna be like, what the heck, man, I'm wasting too much time coloring. But when it comes to art, you know, you're always thinking about what your finished product is gonna look like. And I guarantee that if you use these techniques, your finished product is gonna look way better than not using them. That's my second layer. So this is the first one. Here it is with the second one. So now I'm gonna go with the third layer, that direction. And for the most part, if you color well and you follow these tips, you might get away with just using 3 layers. Sometimes, depending on the color, we might have to use 4 layers. But once you put 3 layers on here and once you get the practice, you know, of trying to get those layers as even as possible, then your work's gonna start looking better. That's 3 layers. I don't know if you can tell the difference now. There's one, this is 2, that's 3. And then my last layer is gonna go in the opposite direction of the first one. And like I said, for each layer, that's 3 and that's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So for each layer, as you build up, it should look more even. The best way I can describe this, if I was gonna compare it to this color that's like super dark, I would compare this as like softer, velvety, like smooth. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but I can tell you that most artists, if they're looking for a nice, soft, smooth coverage on their colored pencils, they're gonna use this technique. Now, you're always gonna find artists that, do their own thing, and abstract artists and contemporary new age artists, that they're gonna use supplies and materials like in their own way. And like I've seen a couple of artists that are colored pencil artists that go against all of like the rules of how to use these, and they do their own thing. But what I'm showing you is how to use colored pencils to get the most even, smooth coverage that you can. And like I said, just using your hand and your wrist, not moving your entire arm, not coloring this way, working in small sections at a time, following a pattern, and then using layers. And that's the way that your colored pencils are gonna look nice and even. Now the last thing, just like you saw me coloring this picture, you can always layer colors. And let's say I'll just pick 2 colors, orange and I guess I'll go light blue. So if you have some colors that you want to layer, on the 2 colors, what you're going to do first is you're going to think, whatever I'm coloring, is it more prone to one of these colors? Like, is it more bluish or is it more orangey? And then that's what you can color first. If you have 2 colors that one's light and one's dark, like let's say you wanted to mix yellow and red, for the most part, you're gonna want to go with the lighter color. Now these 2 that I picked, they're about the same intensity. I mean, it doesn't matter which one you do first. But what you would do is, you would come in with your first color, your first layer, and once you have that first layer, then you can come in with your second color in the opposite direction. And then you just take turns with both colors. And if you can do 2 layers with each color, then it should look nice and even. Now the thing is, here's what a lot of people tell me, is when I do the blending of the color pencils, it still looks like grainy. Like you can still tell that I use 2 colors. It doesn't look like one smooth color, just one. You can still see that I use 2 colored pencils. And what I tell people is, look, for the most part, art is made to be seen from a distance. Not like, you're not gonna look at art and be like, oh, look at that, like super close. You're gonna be at a distance. And you might still see the graininess to it, but if you step back from your work, that's what I always say. Take a step back and see what it looks like from a couple steps back, instead of you being like right on it. Because a lot of times we're just given an illusion of a color, and it's gonna look much different from far, like from way up there where you are, to if you really zoom in close. Like this guy that I drew right here, that I colored, like on my camera, I don't know what it looks like on your computer screen, but on my screen, it actually looks like a pretty solid orangey yellow color. But if I'm looking at it right here, I can still see like the graininess. And I don't know if it's gonna focus in on it, but you can still see the graininess of that color of the blends. But when you look at it from a little bit farther, it looks more even. So you guys that are looking at blending colored pencils, always keep that in mind. As long as you follow these steps, it should be looking okay. 1 color, second color, third color, fourth color in the layers, taking turns with the colors. And then the last thing is, if you ever want to take a color and lighten it up, you can always at the end, use a little bit of white on top and it should smooth it out and it should lighten it up a little bit. So, and I know for all these packs of color pencils that we buy, it has white in it, and it's probably like the least used color, but that's one way of using it, is to smooth things out and make things a little bit lighter. But that's white. And if you ever do want to use white, like for example, oh, I'm going to use white, brown, and orange to make a skin tone because I don't have a peach color. Well, I think it's always better to start with white, even though you're not going to be able to see it on the paper. Like, you're just going to have to follow that pattern and remember where you have colored, because if you use a white first, it's going to be the stronger color out of the three, and then you can lightly add some of your second and third colors and then come back with the white, and it should give you a nice color. But anyway, that's what I wanted to show you with colored pencils. And all this is practicing. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna help you sketch out a picture. And this picture is like super easy. It's just one character. I'm gonna help you sketch it out, and then I'm gonna give you time to draw them out and color them in. Trying to make a peach color. It's kind of working. I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay, so that's color pencils. That's what you need to remember. All right, so for this picture that we're drawing, piece of paper is what you need. I'm gonna sketch them out how I would sketch them out. Like I said, this is a very easy drawing, and then I'm gonna give you time. Just a couple of reminders. When you sketch this picture out, very lightly in pencil, right? And then once you have the pencil drawn, the sketched out, then you're gonna now look at the details and try to draw the details, and you'll draw those a little bit darker. You're still drawing light. Remember, you always want to start light and a little at a time get darker, but you don't ever want to draw like super dark lines. So you guys that are drawing like really dark, y'all really need to practice on lightening up your pencil strokes. So, and then you're gonna build up that picture, and then the last step, if you have a marker, it's probably be good to outline the picture, and then you can color it in. If you don't have a marker, then you can use a black colored pencil to outline, and then you can color it in. So let me look at our drawing for today. Let me find it. Oh. There it is. And like I said, this picture is going to be a little bit easier. There's no background or nothing. I just want you to draw the character and then practice a little bit on your colored pencils. This one just has a couple colors. Now for this picture, it's pretty much a square, so it doesn't matter if you go paper, vertical, or horizontal. I'm just going to leave it like this. I guess I'll sketch in marker. Like I said, you guys lightly in pencil. So for today's picture, and I'm gonna start drawing this. You're gonna know what it is like right off the bat. All right, so for today's picture, yeah, it's pretty straight across. what are we gonna call that? Like a football shape? We'll call it a football shape. Like I said, all I'm doing is I'm trying to break this picture down that I'm looking at into simple shapes. Wow, that might be my sketch. Piece of cake. Now, that's what I saw. Like I said, I'm just letting you follow along so you can kind of see how I think. And like I said, for the most part, simple shapes, lines, you don't have to be clean with them. They're just kind of loose. And this just gives me an idea of where things go. So what am I gonna do next? Well, next, I'm gonna keep looking at my picture. And then, watch, let me show you what it looked like when I drew last week's. Let me show you this one. So last time I sketched this picture out. So my green lines, I know it's all like all kinds of layers on there, but the green lines were my first sketch lines. And then I came in with the pink lines, and I try to clean it up, pay attention at the details, and try to draw what I saw from the screen. And like I said, what you're gonna do is you're going to pick the part that you think is the easiest, start there, and then expand from there. So if I remember right, I think I started with this guy's face. I started drawing there, and then I started working the rest of the picture. And then once I had the pink lines drawn, then I came in with my black marker, and my black marker represents my finished lines. So the green, the pink, all of that would have been done in pencil lightly, and then I would have done my black outline. And after that, I could have taken my big eraser and erased all my pencil lines out. And that's usually how it works. Like I said, I'm sketching and I'm working in marker, so you can see it on the screen, but this is what my sketch would be. So now I'm gonna keep building it up. So I'm gonna give you a couple more lines, and I'm pretty sure you already know who this is. Let's go with, I guess we'll go pink. Anyway, so from here, I can continue working. And these, all the lines that you make, like until you know that they're final lines and you want to continue making them light. And then I would just look at the picture and then work and start working, expanding, looking at the details, and always adjusting until you have a good finished picture. Okay? So I want you guys to draw this. I want you to sketch it, and then use the time to color it. Like I said, it's a very easy picture. It just has a couple of colors. It has like a peach looking color, yellow, red, and like gray, light blue for the shoes. So let me share this screen now, and then you'll be able to see your picture. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone have any questions? Okay, so let me stop the video. So this is the lesson. Draw the picture, sketch, build it up, finish the drawing, and then use colored pencils to color it.